You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Don't touch me. The issue of touching a narcissist is an interesting one. The narcissist does not like to be touched in an uninvited fashion. Why? Very simple. It's a threat to control. If you place your hand upon a narcissist, on their shoulder, on their arm, try and hug them, whatever it might be, you are deemed to be seeking to assert control over that narcissist. It doesn't matter that your touch is light and kind and caring, that you're trying to be affectionate with a hug. The fact is, your laying of hands upon the narcissist is interpreted by the narcissism as a threat to control, because you're seen to, 1, be trying to steer the narcissist in some way, and 2, you're invading the narcissist's personal space. And therefore, the narcissist may well react by swatting your hand away, by pulling away from you, by shirking your touch. You may recall the instance of when Harry's wife was getting married, and as she exited the car, she swatted away the hand of the man that was attempting to assist her in getting out. This was because his offering of help and trying to touch her threatened her sense of control, so her narcissism's knee-jerk instinctive reaction was to push his hand away. The narcissist, of course, will welcome touch if it's the narcissist's decision to allow it. You'll recall that Harry's wife has described herself as a hugger, and one of her means of asserting control over somebody is the administration of the hug. But it's because she has decided that this is what is to be done, and therefore that allows her to assert control over the relevant victim. Harry's wife is particularly tactile when it comes to the issue of asserting control. She regularly crosses boundaries by touching people, by hugging people, by placing a hand upon them, and in some instances, as you'll see in a later video, kissing people. With regard to Harry, she regularly steers him by placing her hand in the small of his bag, touching him on the shoulder, pushing him on the chest, and of course utilization of the grip of doom. Some narcissists are nowhere near as tactile as Harry's wife, but she is because her narcissism deems that it is an appropriate method of asserting control over individuals, and it attends to the management of her facade by making her seem that she's kind, caring, and compassionate. Therefore, as one of her manipulations, her narcissism utilizes physical touch regularly. Of course, if you were to try and touch her without her inviting you to do so, then in the circumstances she would reject it, as I explained as per the earlier example. But there are instances where she attempts to utilize touch on some people and they reject it, and interestingly, it's commonly children. Why? Well, with regard to adults, they may not actually welcome the fact that she's so tactile, but in the circumstances, the adult has bought into the social convention of politeness that it would be rude to push her hand away, or to step back, or to take the hug away, and instead just tolerates it as thinking it's part of the social convention of nicety and politeness, so therefore we will just go along with it. They accept that it is something that's part and parcel of human interaction, and whilst they might think to themselves, a little bit forward there, a little bit rude, they go along with it. Of course, there are many people that don't see an issue with it, but those that might, and nevertheless still go along with it because of politeness. Children haven't been conditioned in the same way, and are more likely to show their honest response. Furthermore, children often do sense that there's something not quite right about Harry's wife. They wouldn't be able to articulate what it is, but you've seen many instances whereby a child has backed away from her. Some of my earlier videos, one in particular, shows where various mothers are trying to push their children towards Harry's wife, and it's as if they can sense the brooding emptiness. They think, "No, don't make me go near the witch woman, mummy." And they basically back away and walk off. Contrast that with the way that children embrace Catherine, Princess of Wales. You're going to see in this short clip an instance of the way that a child doesn't want to be touched by her, leaving her hanging, and that her response thereafter demonstrates her absence of emotional empathy, the absence of a natural response, which is also contrasted with that of Harry. Here comes the clip. Once again, it takes place at the Invictus Games. Harry and Harry's wife are exiting the arena. As they do so, they walk alongside a young lady who is in a wheelchair. This young person is right where they're walking, and you'll have noticed that as Harry's wife approaches her, she attempts to put out a hand towards her, but it doesn't connect, because it's quite clear that the young person doesn't want to have any involvement with her. And thus, her narcissism causes her to immediately retreat. Her hand is left hanging in the air rather awkwardly. She doesn't know what to do, and therefore her narcissism has to deal with the threat to control. This tertiary source's failure to engage with her causes minor wounding. Her narcissism isn't going to cause her to slap this person about the head and lean in and say, "Now, you will talk to me, you motherfucker," because the facade management wouldn't let that happen. She's not in a position to turn to Harry and say, "That rude bitch wouldn't talk to me." Not only is it not prudent because she'd have to stop, turn around and talk to Harry, but facade management will stop it happening. And therefore the only option that's left for her is for her to continue to walk. But notice what Harry does. He stops, leans in, puts his hand on the young lady's shoulder and talks to her. He engages with her, demonstrating the emotional empathy that he has. Harry's wife then has to stop and look back and appears rather foolish because there's Harry dealing with the very person who had snubbed Harry's wife. It was apparent that this young person didn't want Harry's wife to touch her, but was content for Harry to do so. Whatever that person's reasons are, we don't know. Maybe they simply don't like Harry's wife, or maybe they felt that it was inappropriate for her to touch. But you can see the differing reactions that take place between Harry's wife, who looks hesitant, looks awkward, walks away because she has no emotional empathy and no natural way of dealing with this person, and her narcissism struggles to make her look natural, as we've seen on so many occasions, and the far more natural response of Prince Harry following up behind, where he does place a hand upon this individual who's pleased to talk to him, and he stops and engages with this individual. A useful contrast of the behaviours of the two of them. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for watching.